Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Franchise Unfiltered podcast. Today I'm joined by Josh Malik. Josh is the founder and CEO of Joshua Tree Services. Josh, welcome.
Hey, man, Wes, thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to this. This is one of those. This is one of those brands that I love to kind of spotlight on the podcast because it's not what most people are thinking of when they think of franchises, right? Certainly not food. It's not painting. It's not automotive. It's obviously by the name Tree Services. So give us kind of the quick overview. Like what is the business? What are all the different services that you offer for your clients?
Yeah, so I started out in 2005 as a what's considered a general tree care company that offers full line service of pruning trees, removal, stump grinding. We focus a lot more on preservation. We do cable and bracing, install lightning protection. We do a lot of what they call plant health care, which is tree and shrub fertilization, amending soils. We do insect disease treatments through spray applications, soil applied applications. It wasn't until I started the business in 2005, and then we started offering additional lines of service in 2017 with lawn care application services, which is strictly fertilizer, weed control, insect disease treatments, aeration, and seeding. And then we also launched pest control services in 2020, which offer mosquito, flea, and tick, and we do burial structural treatments to resist pests from getting inside the homes.
Okay. So pretty comprehensive in terms of everything from the trees and the shrubs, in the yard or around the yard to the yard itself, and that includes killing the pest and keeping them out of the house.
It is, our purpose is to make home environments safe, healthy, and beautiful. And there's different things within our business. Tree work it's a necessity. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a dead tree, it's like it's either going to fall, it's going to cause bodily injury, property damage of some type. It becomes more of a liability. So, clients that are calling, they need to have that tree performed for removal. We really focus on the demographics of clients that want to really preserve their property, understand that, landscapes can add up to 35% of the value on the home. And if they're properly
Wow.
positioned and they're shading the home, they're blocking unsightly views, restricting winds and stuff like that, you can care for them and they just continue to add value, year over year. So, those are necessities. You get into lawn care, it's more of a commodity. That's the point
Right.
where the homeowners are, trying to keep up with the Joneses, man. It's like your
Yeah. Oh
neighbors
yeah.
must look good. It's like you do. I'm not going to look like the only property here with weeds popping every, springtime. So it's a very, much more sought after by homeowners. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's a larger client count that comes with that. So it's a good mix of what we offer.
Yeah. Do you find that most of your lawn care clients, because that is more of a commodity, therefore there's more competition, right? Or at least more companies that offer it, right? Competition does not always mean that the quality is the same or the service is the
Sure.
same. But do a lot of your lawn care clients come from the tree side of the business? Like, is that how you kind of get your foot in the door, and
Yeah.
then they had a good experience with you, and it's like, oh, you can come and handle my lawn and the pest control?
Yeah, and that's like the beauty of having if you get in this high growth business model where you're offering three different services,
Hmm.
we're very specific on how we're targeting through messaging and marketing. Like we don't drop a mailer or Google ad or anything digital where it's like, hey, we do all these. We focus on saying, hey, we want to get specific people that need tree care. We get them in the door. We focus on getting that job completed and performed, give a really good client satisfaction on that. And then we start dripping them with other pieces of marketing through email, text messaging, postcards. We are indoor contact center. We'll do start doing callings, trying to get, a quote out there for their lawn care. And we just bounce around with those clients. And it's the same thing as like, hey, when we're doing lawn care ads, people call up here, they have no idea that we do tree service. We sell them the lawn care, but before you know it, then we go back, we start saying, hey, let me get my arborist on site and do a free site inspection. Let us do, look at your mosquito, flea, and tick or your structural treatment plan.
How did you figure out that was the best approach? versus blasting them with, hey, we do this, this, and this.
Through trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to, I always thought like when I first started offering those services, it's like I could save money by putting all lines of service on one postcard.
Right.
But you're really, you dilute the message where people will look at, be like, well, which one are they the expert in?
Yeah.
And you said some things which is important. It's like lawn care is it's a volume based business. It's like the
Yeah.
more clients you have, you're focusing on certain size properties. It's volume based, man. The more the client count, the more value it brings to your business. And those clients will bounce around.
Yeah.
Everybody that's going to watch this podcast or everybody that owns a home, every spring you get tons of different mailers that are, hey, 50% off, first application free, whatever. It's like,
Yep.
and homeowners will be like, listen, we're going to go with another company because I'm going to save $50 this year. It's like, all right, we'll see you again in 3 years. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's what
Yeah.
happens. Tree care is different in the sense that when you have a good quality tree care company, you're focused on providing a good relationship and relationship building with that client. You deliver a good service, they're coming back to you. Tree care is really hard to find in today's day and age, and it always has been like that. A
Yeah.
good company that they're going to answer the phone call, they're going to be responsive, they're going to be there when they say they're going to deliver the service they said they're detailed, meaning that the salesperson is letting them know exactly what we're going to do. And I mean, down to the specifics, they're relaying it to the crew. When you deliver that client's coming back to you for tree work year over year. That's just how it is. It's like, they're a good company. I'm not going anywhere else. It took me 20 years to find them,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it also makes sense to me now that the marketing approach you figured out, market one service at a time instead of blitzing them with everything works. It's a little bit counterintuitive, right? You would think like, hey, we're a one-stop shop. Like we offer
Yeah.
all these amazing services. Who wouldn't, be interested in that? But I think you can very quickly kind of overwhelm the client with it's just too many options, or, I don't need all of those options. I only need one of them. Like, are they going to expect me to sign up for all of them if I reach out? Or to your point, which are they actually the expert in? So that to me makes a lot of sense.
I like what you said too, man. I think you're right on it, where you get that hesitation, like, are they going to try to upsell me?
Yeah.
I just need this one service. Am I
Yep.
going to be pressured? No one likes a pressured salesperson. Are they
Yep.
going to pressure me into doing all this?
Yeah. My wife and I own a custom shelving franchise called Shelf Gene. We've been in it for 7 years. It's been around for a lot longer than that. And 4 or 5 years ago, we added on custom closets. So same type of thing that California Closets and some of those other types of companies do. And it took us a few years to figure out that, hey, if we go in, like if someone calls us out to look at a closet, and then we go out and we start also telling them everything we could do in their kitchen or their pantry and some of this other stuff, even if they are like, okay, yeah, let's see what that would look like. Then you drop, a big number on them,
Yeah.
all these different options and stuff. And more often than not, because our goal with that type of business is walk out of there with a signed sales contract and a deposit.
Yeah.
Right. But when we were giving, multiple quotes on multiple areas of the home and stuff, very rarely were we ever locking anything down in the house. In a lot of cases, it turned into nothing. And I think it's just too overwhelming. Right. So like we've learned over the years, if someone wants us to come look at closets, we'll go do their closets and we'll do a phenomenal job. And then same way you guys are doing it, through some good drip campaigns, call center outreach, targeted stuff, they're going to know that we do the pull out shelving and the other stuff, and it'll come back to us at some point when the time is right. But I think it's a good example right there of where, like, you've been in this business since 2005. You've layered on some of these other services over the years. Now as you're franchising your business, you're bringing people in, like they get to avoid all that trial and error that you've already figured out. Right. Because I think most of us would try to go at it the way that you did initially and the way that we did with, our closet and shelving business. And you just have to learn that there's actually a more strategic way to do it.
Well, even like Wes, like when we do lawn care, right? Like we have bolt-on options where it's like, hey, we go out, we have a straight let's just say it's a 6-step program. We're going to do fertilizer, weed control. That's what we sell. We sell that when they call in, but then we also go back to them. It's like, all right, let's do a couple treatments. Then we give them the call. We start messaging them to say, hey, upsell on grub control. All right, it's another line of service. It's like, okay, that's an added service that we can do. All right, we get 70% plus penetration as the managing partner in that, and that's a really good service line. And then we go back and say, hey, it's time for aeration and seeding. And you start upselling, 40% of your customers on that, and that's a big ticket number. But again, those additional service lines cost, if not even, almost as much or more, depending on the lawn size, as it does the 6-step program. So it's like the mental game. It's like, if I go in and it's a $600 bill, they can afford that.
Yeah.
I'll bolt on the other 600 throughout the season. You know what I mean? When they start liking my service.
Instead of giving them a $1,200 quote right out of the gate.
They're just like, no, man. It's like, I got someone else that's giving me a $600 quote. It's like, I don't want to do that. They're going to get sold by that company anyway, but it's the mental part of, hey, how are we going to deliver and how are we going to upsell it?
Yes, a lot of it's pricing strategy, right? Which is never as straightforward as, we tend to think that it is. There's a lot of psychology and consumer behavior and stuff that goes into, having a smart pricing strategy. So how'd you get into this business in the first place?
Well, dude, I always liked working outside, even when I was young and I was going through high school, and I sucked in high school, man. I did.
Me too.
I think I was like 119 out of 126. Went to a small school, dude, and I just, but I loved sports. I actually had some scholarships for sports, but I was going to waste, the rest of the money if I was going to school. So right before I graduated, there was a local company, tree care company. I was dirt bike riding, I was skydiving, I was doing stuff where it's like, I'm like an adrenaline junkie. So I started a tree care company. Just honestly, it was a couple months before I graduated high school. I was working there on the weekends, graduated, went in there full time, and, worked in production field for 8 years. It's pretty cool when you think about it. It's like, this is my 34th year in the business, right, in the industry. And I started the very lowest tier you could be on the ladder. But I learned so much shit. Seriously, by doing that, it's like I know, and I think that street cred, with the guys that I have working at corporate, when I go to franchise locations, I can talk with them, I can work alongside of them, and it's like they get it. It's like, yo, this is someone that's done this. I can talk, and you know what I mean, the lingo, and kind of show them some things that they don't know, and going from a grounds person to a climber to a crew leader. And then I was like, it was 8 years I was in the industry. And I was like, dude, I was hungry. I was young. I had a young family. And back then, that's in 2000, crew leaders at that time, we were making, 17, 18 bucks an hour. And it was like the salespeople were making money. I was working at a company that was a nationwide company. It was like the people that were making money were the managers and the salespeople. And I wasn't ready to get into management because the next tier up was sales. So I was working down towards the Philly area, and I had a local company approach me and was like, hey, man, it was a small 3-person company, and the owner wanted to grow. He wanted to start plant healthcare. I had my licenses, and I was, performing those services. So I knew what I was doing. And he was like, why don't you come over? He's like, I want to get you into sales and management. And went over there for 5 years and helped him grow that business pretty well. And dude, I remember on my interview, honest truth, I said, I'm going to give you 5 years. I said, I want to go out on my own. I'm not kidding you, dude. I said, I'm going to give you 5 years. And 5 years passed, and I was doing good, man. It was 2005. I was making really good money. And I remember I was putting the plan together to transition to my own business, and had a lot of family that, dude, they just weren't supportive of it. They're like, you're nuts. Like, what are you doing? You're making good money. Why do you want to, you have a young family, you got health benefits, you got everything you need to continue to grow. And I'm like, I know I can do this. This is what I want to do. And we had a good market for it. I was in a really good area, and there wasn't a lot of focusing on preservation. Every single tree care company out there, they do tree removal. Every single company out there does tree removal. But there's a small percentage of companies that are actually focusing on preservation. And when the audience starts feeling the niche of like, hey, there's a company out there that actually wants to care for my trees, they want to preserve them, they have my landscape in their best interest, other than, listen, I could go remove a tree for $3,000 or I can prune it for $1,000. And most people would say, no, let's try to remove it. You know what I mean? It's the big bang buck right up front. I'm like, no, the hell with that, man. I'm going to prune it this year for $1,000. Then I'm going to prune it 2 years down the road for $1,000. Plus I'm going to feed it. Plus I'm going to spray it. It's like, dude, I'm getting these recurring lines of revenue. It's like, I made $3,000.
You're playing the long game.
Yeah, it's the long game, man.
Yeah.
And it works because your audience starts knowing that. The neighbor starts seeing how good the landscape looks. They see your truck in the neighborhood, not just once. They see it, 2-3 times a year because you're doing these other services at this one property. It's like they just, the brand exposure is just there too. There's so many other benefits to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate that piece of it when it comes to any of these service-based businesses, of just literally like good branding, right? People seeing you out and about and stuff, like especially in some of these industries that are a little more fragmented, a little bit rougher, maybe, where there's not as much in the way of organized competition. Like something as simple sounding as, hey, we've got our trucks wrapped in a nice wrap, looks good, company name visible, phone number, holy shit, we have a website even. Like some of the like sounds so basic, but it goes a long way. Yeah, it does. So, and I want to get into the preservation stuff, because I remember when I first got introduced to you guys, that was kind of eye-opening for me, right? Because I hear tree service, and I knew some stuff about like the tree service, I guess, industry and franchising. I'd seen some pretty good examples of like where there were some good businesses, but it was all kind of removal, and that's all it really was in my mind. So I want to unpack that some more, but before we do, I want to go back to 2005 as you're making this transition into going out on your own.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that I think is important for the audience to really hear, because most of my audience falls into the aspiring entrepreneur category. Yeah. Which is like your family, right? Probably even some of your friends were not very supportive. And that is something that I find is common, but it blindsides a lot of people, right? If they're trying to muster up the courage to go do this thing, this vision that they have, to go bet on themselves. And then all of a sudden, the people that are like closest to them, that I guess they just, you assume, all right, these are the people that are going to be rooting for me. They're going to be my biggest fan. They're the ones telling you not to do it. They're the ones telling you you're crazy, right? Or pointing out every little thing that could go wrong if you do it. How did you, especially with a young family, how did you kind of block some of that noise out and stick to the vision that you had?
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I look back at that time, and there was a time where I'm like nowadays I don't, because that's a lot of static that can get in your head, and it can start playing the mind games. Like, am I making the right decision? I don't do that too much. Like, I have what I would call trusted advisors that are close to me that won't look at me like on my personal life. They'll look more as like a business opportunity side, and identify the risks, but not bring, personal into it.
Yeah.
Because when you do start, going to those friends and family, it's like you can get excited, and then you can get unexcited very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And, they can turn your decision into not making a decision into what could be honestly one of the worst decisions you make by not making, doing something for yourself.
Totally.
So those trusted advisors I've, worked for, and, I use them nowadays. That I've, there are other professionals within the industry that, have become colleagues of mine. And we can call bullshit on each other. You know what I mean? It's like, we can speak the truth. We can kind of look at things a little bit differently from an angle and say, hey man, have you thought about this? How are you going to work through something, X, Y, and Z, which is good. And I just really regressed from going to my closest friends and my family. And the truth is, man, when you become successful, and if you're talking about increasing your success, and you're going to some people that maybe aren't at a level you're at, man, there could be jealousy that plays in there where
Totally.
it's like they
Yeah.
start doing things and
They may not even realize it. It may all be
no,
happening at a
totally.
subconscious
No,
level,
100%.
but
100%.
yeah.
It's like, and it's just the way that we think, mentally as humans. And it's like, it's like, I don't know, man, if I feel good, I'm pretty good at like, I really look at things at all angles. I understand what the risk is involved and I make informed decisions, but business is risky no matter what. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter, dude. That's why, entrepreneurs, it's like, you got to have some thick skin because you got to make a lot of decisions and, it's risky no matter what it is, man. It's
Yep.
your name by it at the end of the day.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's kind of, like one of the biggest pieces of advice I was given years ago by someone that's still a mentor to me today was like, when you can learn to fear regret more than you fear failure, that's when you're going to put yourself in a position to take some of these, quote unquote risks that stop most people, right? That most people get right up there to the line and they can't quite take the leap. You hit on it though, right? It's, by doing nothing or deciding not to do something, that may actually end up being the biggest mistake, right? Because you spend the rest of your life regretting it, wondering what if. And, I think a lot of people don't realize you get that close to betting on yourself and doing something, and then you talk yourself out of it, or you let the input of other people around you talk you out of it. Not only are you probably going to carry some level of regret with you, that can also take a big toll on your confidence, right? Because now you're telling yourself a different story in your head, which is, I'm not the guy that does that. I'm the guy that talks about doing it, thinks about doing it, almost does it, but I'm not that guy, right? And then that over time can really kind of rewire your brain and have a lot to do with just how you carry yourself and everything else. So it's
allows you to start pointing the finger at other people. Like, I didn't do it because they said not to.
yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's,
Yeah,
it's like,
it can cause resentment,
yeah,
all types of things. And so, it's like when you're advice, whether it's financial advice, business advice, like good rule of thumb is, if you're thinking about doing something, go seek out advice of people that have actually done it themselves versus, right? So like if I won't, my wife and I have our 10-year wedding anniversary coming up, in a couple of months. My parents have been married for 35 years. Like I'll go ask my dad, like marriage advice, right? Because they've got a good marriage. Neither of my parents are entrepreneurs, right? Like I'm probably not going to them about like, hey, what do you think I need to do to get my business to the next level? Right. I think that's kind of a good rule of thumb, but we'll get right back to the episode in just a minute. But if you've been considering business ownership, if you're already a business owner looking to expand and you're curious about franchising, I'd love to connect with you, answer any initial questions that you have, talk about a specific franchise, and detail the exact process that I use and have taken hundreds of people through to help them understand franchise ownership, find the right franchise for them, and conduct the necessary due diligence. Click the link in the show notes if you'd like to schedule a free, no obligation strategy call. I look forward to talking with you. And now back to the episode. Do you think you're just kind of, you said you've always just kind of been able to kind of block out that type of noise? You've always had confidence. Like, did you have to train that into yourself, or are you just kind of wired that way?
No, I think probably just from like younger playing sports and, doing things that, showed level of failure, level of success, where it's like, hey man, it's like, I'm on both ends. It's like, I've went through failure. I understand what success looks like and feels like. And internally, it's like, when I think when you have a lack of confidence, man, it just, obviously that's not a good feeling. You know what I mean? It's never, it shows in, professional sports. It shows in people's day-to-day interactions. It shows like how they, how well they can work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think always, trying to, keep myself mentally stable. I'm the type of person where it's like, dude, I don't ride the high highs. I don't ride the low lows. You know what I mean? It's like, I know I can internally, when things are going really good, it's like, dude, I'm not a giddy, like I'm not like up there like super excited. I'm like, this shit could be going down south quick.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is, dude, right? That's seriously, that's how it is. That's how life is, you know? So it's like, I've always been able to have the maturity of level of being just like, yo, you know, maybe a little bit of waves, but really more even keel, because it goes with the other side too. It's like, yo, when things are going not so well, it's like, you can't get low in the valley, you know what I mean? And then come back up. It's like, no, dude, it's like, things are going to even out. You know what I mean? Here's the path I'm going to take. This is how I'm going to correct whatever the issue is. But it's like, I think I've just had the level mindset of like, you know, trying to stay even keel through everything all the time.
You don't get emotional.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You got
Yeah.
to be conscious about that.
Yeah, I agree. So talk to me more about tree preservation, right? Because this was not on my radar really till I got introduced to you guys. You already kind of alluded to how that's different. I guess the first question that comes to my mind, and maybe I'm just way off here, but how many people really care about preserving their trees? The stat you dropped earlier blew my mind. That, what did you say? The landscape, your
Yeah.
landscaping can add up to 35%.
35% of your property value.
Yeah,
So, you know, we target a specific demographic.
sure.
You know, we want college educated people. We
Yeah,
want people that have children and have a single dwelling home worth an X amount of value, X amount of size, right? They have a household income medium of a certain amount. We know targeting that clientele, one is, if they're too busy to care for it on their own, right? They don't want to do it. But they also have the exposure and expenses to say, hey, I can hire someone to come out and do it. But the college education, the home value, they understand, hey, we can talk to them about what the landscape does. And we do that through hiring, we're the professional business where it's like, we want certified arborists. We want industry professionals that are out there representing the company. We want them front facing with the client where they can talk properly about tree development, soil root relationships. They can identify different things on their property that maybe they called us about one thing and it's like, hey, you called us about this. This isn't the issue, but I want you to focus over here instead. You know what I mean? As I'm walking up to your property, here's what I'm seeing. And trees, listen, there's times where it's like, listen, we do tree removal because we're in the tree care business, but we get the calls all the time where someone has a beautiful tree and they're like, I want to remove this tree. It's like, we'll do some probing questions like, why? Like, is this a great looking tree? And they're like, oh, well, I feel like it's going to fail. It's like, well, let's do an inspection on it. You know what I mean? Let's properly observe, see if we see any type of abnormalities that would, condone what you're saying here. But then we kind of like crossed their mind, man. We start having them think differently about what they're doing. And you gotta really do a lot of training with your people too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like it, but
yeah, you want the company to talk, you know what I mean, when they're out there doing the same thing. So,
yeah,
getting those individuals that have experience, show that they know how to do a quality service, and show that they know how to educate the client even when they're out there. Because in this business, the way that I have it set up is that we interact with the client a lot. It's like, we're not just showing up, we knock on the door, we introduce the whole crew, we talk about, what stages of the property we're going to go do, how we're going to do that, setting the expectations. We want to hit the goals. Not a lot of companies do that, dude. A lot of companies, they pull up, they get out, they start working, they never interact with the client. It's like,
a lot of people get into outdoor service businesses specifically so they don't have to interact with the clients that often. I've seen it.
True that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it does. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot of educating and a lot of, it's almost like tree consulting, right?
Yeah.
And I, the more I hear you talk, the more I think about it. It does make sense, right? Especially for the target demographic that you described, right? Like your lot, your property is really kind of an ecosystem, right? And I'm sure it happens all the time where someone thinks one thing is the issue. Your arborist, your team of experts goes out, they can look at it and explain that, actually this is not the issue. This is a symptom of the issue that's over here. And that, I mean, that instantly is going to like give someone the confidence that, especially if it's a situation where you're actually saying, yeah, we could take this tree out $3,000, right? Or it's a good looking tree. We can, test it. If you're worried about it falling on the house, we can show you why, you really shouldn't be concerned about this tree falling. And it's a third of the cost for us to not remove it. Like, I got to think that gives your clients a lot of confidence that you know what you're talking about and you're not there to just, make as much money as you possibly can from them.
And we train our sales guy because when we get the budget of 3,000, right? It's like we know they got a budget of 3,000, but that's the part that we can say, yo, let's extend your budget. It's like, yeah, you called us here, in mind, you thought it was 3,000. It's like, hey, we can care for this tree. It's 1,000. Like, but you have all this other stuff on your property.
Right.
You've been living, we probe the questions. How long you've been living here? Have you worked with an arborist? What kind of issues have you seen? You know what I mean? Hey, let me take your hand. Let me walk you around and kind of point out some things. So it's like, we're upselling them the whole time, getting the extra additional work done, but they're getting a lot more out of the, their dollar value is extending. And when you can do that and they see that, they're like, all right, because listen, man, there's guys out there that we come across all the time that are like, people are like, I had 2 other companies come out that said the tree had to come down. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with your tree. But those are guys that just do tree removal. So it's like, we're going to focus on doing the tree removal part, and that's where we're going to make our money, because they can't consult on the value. They can't consult on the care and, the long time preservation on the property.
How many, I mean, in your estimation, right? How many companies are out there that are actually doing this in a similar manner, similar philosophy, similar approach to
20%? 20%
of all
80% of the companies, they're out there just targeting tree removal.
Just chopping shit down, huh?
And what's crazy, Wes, is this shit, dude, it's the hardest part to do in this business. Seriously, you need the biggest pieces of equipment. It's the biggest risk on the homeowner for property damage. It's the biggest risk for the people. You get the most debris removal, right? You got to remove the wood chips. You got to remove the freaking trunk wood. You got to grind the stump, right? You get all this debris you got to get rid of. And they fight like to get it at the cutthroat number.
And and who can do it for the least amount of money? That
I'm like, dude,
that's crazy.
Come on, man. It's like, go do that all day.
Yeah, it does look kind of fun though. You do get to use some pretty cool equipment.
Yeah, you do.
No, that's a good point. It's definitely from a liability standpoint. Anytime you got employees scaling trees with chainsaws and stuff, like, I imagine that ramps the liability up a fair amount.
Well, you get in, big tree removal, you need specialized equipment.
Yeah. And
that stuff is honestly $500,000 to $750,000 per piece when you really start breaking it down. I mean, it is. I like the stuff where it's like my plant health care technicians, they're out. We had confirmation today. So, we go to the operations center this morning. We get to look at the AM process. They're meeting my CSRs. We go do these job site visits, and we get out. We did 2 tree care job sites visit. They were doing some pruning and some small removal on the one. And then we go look at a plant health care. And dude, this dude is just like geeking out with my technician, like, dude, talking about the truck and the valves and all this stuff. He's an engineer, right? Dude, they were like totally into it, right?
I'm sure.
Seriously, 20 minutes they're talking. I'm like, this is great. I mean, my guy was just like giving him an education on this truck. And then he's like, he was just super impressed by it. So he's like, dude, I should probably get to work. And I'm like, no, I'm like, the guy that was here, I'm like, yo, do you want to try spraying some of the trees? He's like, yeah, I do.
Heck yeah.
So, we got him suited up, dude, gave him some gloves, some glasses. He was having a blast, man. He's like, this, I could be doing this all day.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's got to get them out there on job. I love to hear that you guys are doing that. So that's a good kind of segue into more of the franchise opportunity side of this. When did you get, like, I'm a mad guess, back in 2025, you probably weren't thinking, hey, I'm going to franchise this business one day, or maybe you were.
No, 2005, dude. It was like, so I knew then my goal, this is crazy, dude. I'm like, I want to get to a 7-person company. I'm going to handle all the sales. I'm going to have a tree crew, technician, back admin person. I knew the kind of money I could make. That happened super fast. It did. It happened really, really quick. And it was like, well, let's just keep growing. Let's, continue to grow. Franchising, during the growth pass is like, this is an expensive business to start.
Mm-hmm.
It's equipment heavy. It is, dude.
Yeah.
When we're launching a system full package, it's 400, 450 in equipment. It's 80% of the franchise fee
Easy. Yeah.
front. So it's like, to do that corporately, I would have had to buy or had to get investors to come in that I talked to.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose control. I didn't want to do that. It's like, in this business, it's like, hey man, to me, there's one way of doing the service, and it's a proper way. There's no cutting corners. There's no cutting expenses and things like that. And franchising was my option of saying, I can grow. I can grow with partners. I don't want to have to manage more managers at different locations. It would be hard for me to grow nationwide without having instant regional managers on site. You know what I mean? Getting high
Yeah.
level GMs in there right away. So the franchising model, worked out, and people are always like, well, what do you want to grow for? I'm like, I got a little bit of greed in me. I want to grow. And,
Well, I can't stand it when people, number one, when people act like that's a bad thing or something to be ashamed of. And number two, when they try to, sound like it's completely altruistic, right? Like you could be out here like, I just care about the trees, right? Too many people are out there chopping down the trees. We're trying to save the trees. We're on a mission to save 10 million trees. And that's great if that's part of it, but we live in a capitalistic society. Like we're all trying to level up.
yeah, and I think to me, that's healthy entrepreneur. If you're growing, you get to take your good people and grow with you,
Yeah.
which has been honestly like one of the coolest rides for me is growing a team. And my retention on the corporate side is so good. We have such a good culture, but I've taken my first two employees are still with me. My
Nice.
first two hires are still with me. And I got guys that have been with me 19 years, 17 years, 15, but it's because they continue to level up. The company grows. It's like, hey man, there's a position. I want you to consider it. You know what I mean? I want to talk to you about it. I want you to consider what it is. And these people continue to just drive the business, represent JT. And it's really healthy for the business. It really is.
Yeah.
So many people can come in here and be like, yo, I've been here for so long. I've watched the business go from a 2, 3, 4 person company to where it is today, and have involvement in there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I bet so. I mean, I know like just in my wife and I's businesses and we're just, doing stuff locally. Like we're not doing anything on a national level. Some pretty small teams, but we've had people with us for 6, 7 years at this point.
Yeah.
Like, and that's ended up being the most rewarding part of it. And we were not coming into this being like, hey, we want to build teams and foster culture. And, that's what we're really looking to get out of this. Like it was a money play and a control play, right? Like we wanted to put ourselves in a position to earn more while having more control of our time. We've gotten all that, still plenty of room to grow, but yeah, the people part of it's been fun. It's the hardest part,
So
right? For any of these businesses, I talk to people all day long about all different types of franchises, and one thing they all have in common is finding and keeping good people is going to be the hardest part of it, right? But it can also definitely be one of the most rewarding parts of it. So no, the whole strategy to franchise makes a ton of sense, especially given the capital that it takes to essentially launch this business in a new market. And I imagine too, it's the type of business where the more plugged in you are in the local community, the more opportunities are going to come, right? So it's the reason a lot of these types of businesses do gravitate towards the franchise model, even if the capital requirements aren't as high as it's having that local ownership,
sure.
right? Instead of hiring people to go in there and care about it like they own it, franchise it, right? Get people in, these different markets that actually do own the business, and they're going to be the face of the business in the community. They're going to be the ones out there talking to people about it and promoting it, and that tends to yield pretty good results.
Yeah, and your first clients are all your friends and family and coworkers and church fellowshippers.
Yeah,
It's like that's who it is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. So where are you guys at today? When did you start franchising?
22,
Okay. All right. So
and
where are you at now? Number of franchisees, number of territories.
we have 56 territories with 18 franchise operators,
Nice.
and we have 16 that are up and running. We'll have our 17th up in next month, middle of next month.
Very cool. And you're headquartered out of.
Just above Philadelphia, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. And so how does the footprint look today? I mean, you don't have to list each one, obviously, but are you kind of expanding out regionally? Do you have franchisees throughout the country at this point?
We do. Yeah, we're in 9 different states. My furthest west is Salt Lake City.
Okay. Yeah.
Furthest south is Houston. We have 2 owners, we have 8 territories total down in the Houston market. Um, we're the furthest north here in Pennsylvania, and North Carolina has been a good state for us. We have three separate locations in North Carolina that do really good.
Yeah, well, I'm biased, but I was reading something the other day. North Carolina is like the number one state in the country for like all things small business.
Yeah.
It's a good state to own a business in for sure.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like, I love the Colorado market. Um, and we get people like, you fly out to Pennsylvania, dude, we got these 130-foot trees, right? And people will come out for confirmation day. And like Denver, their biggest tree is 60 foot. But dude, they got these beautiful properties. Like, there's tons of trees, beautiful
Yeah.
properties, and people are like, I can see why the business does so well out here. It's not going to do good out there. It's like, it's not true. If you got trees, it's like, again, that's the necessity. It's how you market the business, right? We're focused on preservation. You need less sizable equipment because it's smaller trees. You need less talented individuals to work on them because your average tree size is like 40 foot. You get less debris to get rid of. There's so many different positives to it. And this business is going to work anywhere where there's trees. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? It's like, and we look at like a tree equity map before we start signing on a partner to really, like, seriously, we start looking at
No, I believe it. It's just like who even comes up with these things? Like who's in charge of the tree equity map? And how
we
often
do
does it get updated?
we do that because we know certain cities that want to grow like their tree canopy, so we know that we can see what their initiative is over like the next their next 10-year plan, but we can also see where they're currently at. So if they're like, hey man, we want 40% tree canopy coverage throughout the city, we're at 28% now. It's like, we know that's a good market. Like, we know 28% canopy coverage is pretty damn good. So
Wow.
we can look at that and say, hey, yeah, there's smaller trees, but you got an abundance of them, which makes it healthy for this type of business.
Ooh, I could really nerd out on this stuff. I don't know. You're opening my eyes to a whole world I wasn't even aware of, where you talk about tree canopy coverage and tree equity maps. I didn't even know that was something cities like looked at and measured,
Yeah,
which I guess is a good thing that they do, but
it is. Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. Okay. So you guys get real nerdy when it comes to, looking at these different markets and figuring out the potential. What types of people have you had come in and join the franchise so far?
All sorts.
Yeah.
We've had IT engineer, we've had cabinet makers, marketing, salespeople. It's like, and I don't look at. I think it's the persona, the personality of the person, their type of drive that they have. It's like, it's not like an IT guy is better than a marketing guy that's better than an engineer. It's like, no, dude, you need someone that is aggressive. You know what I mean? Is This is the type of business where it's like, if you get too analytical you're going to get too bogged down. You're not going to make decisions. This is like we need good game time decision makers. You said it, man. It's like, yo, you start offering basically Joshua Tree. It's 3 businesses in one. It's a complex system. It is. But what's good about that is, we need people that can operate a complex business, and that attracts people that understand the value in the business. They understand what the challenges are going to be, but then they can deliver very, very good. They can make
Yeah.
really quick game time decisions. They can analyze something and make the decision. They hold their people accountable because they understand how important that is. They understand leadership. I think one of the biggest issues that I see with any owner is like a corporate owner doesn't understand how to work with blue collar people. So we do a lot of coaching on that.
Yep.
But that type of drive mindset of someone that has those skills, they're our best. They're our absolute best. And like I said, they can come from all kinds of different backgrounds, but when they have some of those qualities that I'm talking about, those are the ones that are driving the best top line revenue.
Yeah, I believe it. That makes a lot of sense. And, I always like to ask these questions, because I think a lot of people tend to look at a business like this and be like, well, I don't know anything about tree servicing, or I didn't know tree preservation was a thing.
Yeah.
These guys are over here talking about tree canopies and all types of stuff. Like, how could I own this business when I know next to nothing about the industry? And, that's rarely the case that, you need your franchisees to already be super knowledgeable in the industry. They need to see the value, right? And then they need to have the right personality, the right character traits, and with any of these franchises, again, leadership ability is key. That's what is always going to separate your top performers from
Yeah,
everyone.
and I'll tell you, there's a cool factor to being in the tree care business. Like you said, dude,
Yeah,
it's equipment fun to
yeah,
operate, right? It is.
yeah,
Seriously, it's fun to operate. You're outside all the time. It's like, your office is a different space. And we have owners that come in executive model. They want quick growth. They hire a GM. They're hiring a salesperson, right? They're doing the visionary part. They're setting the expectations and really outline this is what we need to accomplish. They're setting the goals for their people. We also have owners that are like, I love the sale work, and I want to go out and I want to meet with the clients and I want to be the front facing part of the business. So our model goes in. It's like, which one are you going to do best at?
yeah,
Like, which one can you do best at? We don't. If I had someone say, "Hey, man, I want to go climb trees," I'd say, "Go get a job." But when we know someone that wants to take on the sales role and maybe learn the sales for the first year, replace them, get a second crew, start being the general manager, overseer, it's like, get to know the business for the first year. If you're going in that model, get out of that and then really work on growing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Grow the business.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What type of referral partnerships are there to be made in this business? Like, do you do like new construction projects, right? Like, we finished building a house a little over a year ago, so just under 2 acres. So we bought the land a year and a half at least before we started building, right? So we figured out the plans for the house, hired the builder. Then we start coming out and walking the lot with the builder, and it was the entire lot was covered in trees, right? So I hate to say it, we did take some trees down, but we left a lot of trees. I think you'd be pretty proud. There's a lot of trees around still, but it was kind of like we didn't have anyone that was a tree expert. Like, our builder was phenomenal and had a ton of experience in every facet of the build process. So he's kind of given us some advice and helping us come up with the vision. But like, dude, that was kind of a tough part of it. And our lot's like long and narrow, right? So it's just kind of like a big long box. So not even that intricate, but trying to visualize, and okay, if the house is going to be there, we're in North Carolina on the coast, so a lot of big pine trees. I think it turned out fine, but like, if we would have had someone that really knew what they were talking about from a tree standpoint, we probably would have, done some things differently. Probably would have had more trees from the
Yeah.
sound.
No. So we do that. We partner with builders and a lot of times homeowners that are going in to build, because we'll do something what they call tree protection zones. And the
Okay.
biggest thing on like a lot like you're talking about, it's like, hey, say it's a wooded lot, or it's a lot that has a half a dozen trees on it. And once they start digging foundations, they start, storing the subsoil somewhere. They start removing all the topsoil to resell it. They're doing root damage. It usually take trees like during construction damage, it'll be anywhere from 3 to 7 years is when you're going to see the results of the damage from like the root disturbance.
Oh,
We can
great.
go in and do like we call the root protection zone, where it's like, okay, we'll look at the tree, we'll look at the size of the tree, determine like where the mass root system is and where it would be okay to damage the root system from there. And we'll do like silt fencing around it. You know what I mean? We'll do different things like that where it's like, hey, this is a prime tree. We don't want to disturb the root zone. We don't want to pile roots, soil up on here, because that'll compact the soil underneath. And that's the type of report and the type of work that we can do for that. More referral stuff is, anybody in the home service is a referral for us, and I love referring, it don't matter, fence, landscapers, lawn mowers, roofing contractors. It's like, those are people at launch. It's like, we call that our ground game. It's like, go
Yeah.
get those partnerships out there right away. Golf courses are huge. HOAs are huge. Churches are big. We do a ton of church work.
See that.
Municipalities,
Yeah.
boroughs, townships, um, cemeteries. Those are the ones. But we refer with, insurance companies, realtors. Those are good
Mm.
people that feed us a lot of work, because we've built the relationships with them. And hey, I have a house that needs to go up for sale. It needs curb appeal. All right, we go do something. Or I got a new homeowner coming in. They want to meet with you to, dress up the place or something.
That makes a lot of sense. How does it work with the insurance companies? When would an insurance company send you a referral?
Say it's like they do a risk assessment on the house, because they'll do
Mm.
that periodically, and they get there and it's like, hey, limbs are extending over top of the house a certain distance, or they're touching the roof. We need to get 12 foot of clearance from that. They can then refer us to the homeowner contacts us. So they're doing the preventative part on that, but that's how it comes back to feed us.
Interesting. Okay. Um, cool. I know we're kind of closing in on our time here. If you have time, we'll get right back to the episode, but I wanted to quickly share a free resource with you. If you're curious about franchise ownership and want to learn more about how countless people, including myself, have leveraged franchising as a way to create more freedom for themselves and to take control of their livelihood, I've put together an ebook. It's called Franchise Wealth Creation, and it's the perfect starting point for anyone that's just curious to learn more about this whole franchise thing and how I've helped hundreds of other people navigate all the steps involved in understanding and researching franchising. So click the link in the show notes, fill out a short form. I'll send you the ebook. I think it's a great starting point if you're curious at all about learning more about franchising. All right, let's get back to the episode. I want to ask one other thing that I imagine has come up, for people listening, in regards to the team, right? You talked a little bit earlier about how, you really need a team of specialists. So arborists, like how hard is it to find these people, people that are qualified, um, and then what type of training or certifications, if any, are they able to get, through the franchise if maybe they're not completely already qualified?
Yeah. Your first crew that you're launching with, we're recruiting. So I have a back end recruiter here that works with all my franchise partners. We're posting the ads, we're running the job boards, we're doing the smart sourcing for them. We're specifically looking for, a crew leader, 5 to 7 years experience, understands development, understands vehicle equipment operations, comes with some certifications. That could be anywhere from, electrical hazard certifications, climb and aerial lift certifications. All right, and then we're looking for a climber that's going to assist that person, 3 to 5 years experience in the industry.
Okay.
The only entry level person, Wes, is the ground person. Just like when I got in the industry, I went in, I was working on a 3-person crew. I was the third person. I'm dragging brush. I'm feeding it through the chipper. I'm raking up. I'm assisting in getting tools to the climber and crew leader aloft. But those other two members, they need to be. We have to have experienced people. You'd be putting people in a risk situation. It's like, hey man, I've been doing construction. It's like, well, you know what I mean? It's like we need people that are like, I've been in the tree care industry for so long. Our selling arborists, we want certified arborists. We want them to have certifications that are through the industry. Image wise is huge. We want someone that looks good, speaks well, smells good. And I say that as
Sure.
many like so many of that in this industry. It's like that's what is missed a lot of time. That's not the
Mhm.
professional experience that people get.
Yep.
So it's like if you can give them someone that is educated, well spoken, and just a clean atmosphere, you know what I mean, and is prompt, detailed, and has the certifications. They need to have that experience because when they go out there, they're bidding on the time of the job. They can sell the job and you can underbid a job very, very easily, as you probably know in your business, and you can overbid at the same time. But it's like understanding how long it takes, how the crew is going to set up, and the hazards that are involved. We need to get experienced people there. So we do a lot of we work directly with franchise partners to do all the recruiting.
Yeah, well, I like that you're providing that back in, especially given the specialization, the people that you need. You got a franchisee coming into this, and they're learning it all. Probably tough for them to really vet and determine if someone that they're interviewing for the job is actually qualified or not. And I asked that because I know the hiring, the recruiting aspect of this is one of the scariest parts to a lot of people. And like we've already talked about, people's the hardest part of all this. But and I think sometimes when people hear like the more specialized, the more certifications, you need for the people you're going to hire in your business, the harder that's going to be. I think in a lot of cases it makes it easier, right? Because you're playing a much more narrow field, right? And it also makes it harder for competitors, right? Because once you have some of these types of people, I mean, if you've studied to be an arborist, you're probably going to want to continue to be an arborist, right? You're not going to decide all of a sudden, like, nah, forget that. Like, I don't like doing this. Let me go into something else. So you probably end up with much more, a much more stable team once you have the right people. Maybe a little bit harder in the beginning to find those people, but once you have them, they're probably going to stick around. You're going to be able to pay them well
Yep.
because of the nature of the business that you're in, what you're able to charge for these very professional, very consultative services. So you probably have a lot less turnover, and you just get to deal with, a team of people that are also driven and motivated and, to some extent passionate about what they're doing versus the type of people that are just worried about collecting a check every Friday.
Yeah. They're professionals. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's it's hard when people think about that, like tree guys being professional. It's like because it's such a lack in the industry. It's like, but
Yeah.
they are like they are. They're driven themselves to learn more about whatever issues are going on within their community with trees and um, they the passion you hit it. It's like look at it like no one wakes up and says I want to go do tree work. You know what I mean? People get into this as a holdover job or an opportunity, or then they get in there and they're like, dude, I like this. Like, I mean, people go to school for like a forestry degree, but when they come out, they're usually working for the government. They're usually working for township boroughs. You know what I mean? The majority of people, they learn from hands-on experience
Yeah.
in this industry. The certifications can be certifications where they're not college. You know what I mean? You're getting a study
Right.
material, you're going to testing facilities to take it. So it's like, and they are, man, you get in this, they're long term.
Yeah. Awesome. What did I not ask you about that I should have?
When was the last time I was up a tree?
I did want to ask you what's the biggest tree you've ever taken down, but then all the preservation talk, I thought that might be
I
be the
know.
wrong
I'll
question to
tell you
ask.
the biggest tree I took down. It was up in East Stroudsburg. I was young in my career. I'm thinking, so I went through this phase when I got in the industry, and I was chasing money. So I started $6 an hour. I remember that. I worked for a local company. I worked there for like 2 years. And an ad came up with this company. It was a small time. It was a one-man operator, right? So he's like, I need a young buck like myself at that time. I was, what, 20 maybe? He's like, I need a young buck that can go up and I can train to climb trees. Well, dude, we used to wear no hard hats. We used to wear not. We didn't wear gloves and shit. Like, dude, we'd be working with like our t-shirts off and shit. Seriously, it was,
Yeah.
I think back now, I'm like, oh my
You're
god,
like, oh my God. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't believe it, man. And I remember it was a large tulip tree, probably about 140 foot in the tip. And I remember like we just didn't have any of the tools that are available nowadays. Like the industry in the 34 year or the like the advancements it's made in 34 years and even just in the last 10 years alone, like with the equipment that they're doing, that like accident reduction is just on the down. Injury, like
Right.
back
Yeah.
injury, is just like it's just that they've done. So I think back and I remembered I got a picture. He took a picture of me of and I don't know why that tree, but he called it the wolf of the woods, and I remember that.
The wolf
I
of the
think that's
woods.
the biggest tree that I probably have taken down manually, meaning that I actually climbed it, cut it to remove it. You know what I mean? Because there's other
Yeah.
ways of now of how you do tree removal. But
So,
yeah,
so something like that back in the day, 140-foot tree, like how high up do you have to go? Because you kind of go up, you cut, and you come
125.
down and you cut, and you just kind of
Yeah,
work your way down, right?
yeah, 125 foot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
could see if you're kind of a self-proclaimed adrenaline junkie, I could see why the
That's what
tree
it's fun.
climbing would appeal to you.
A
That
lot of
makes
fun.
sense. When was the last time you were up in a tree?
4 months ago. I still get out. I don't get out as often, but I like to go out with the crew. I still like to
Yeah.
trees. I still like to, it's honestly, dude, it's like tree climbers they're athletes, man. If like you really watch them,
Yeah, I would think so, man.
like
It's
they
you
are
got to
like
be
it's
strong.
amazing to watch. Like they burn through energy, but they are truly like athletes, man. Like they,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
For people that look at them, they're like, "Oh, that looks easy." And we have newbies that come in that say that they're like, they're green and they start on the ground. They're like, "Listen, I'm gonna do really good when I do this." And then you get them up there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, dude, how hard
no,
this?"
and yeah, and it's not even that. It's you know, yes, you need to be strong, I'm sure, but then it's also like the whole mental component of it,
Oh,
right?
man,
When you're,
totally.
you know, 40 feet off the ground, now you're 60 feet off the ground, now you're 100 feet. Like, how you going to respond in that situation? Hey man, before we know it, they'll have little drones with like chainsaws on them
Oh
that you
yeah,
can
right.
fly up and
Well, dude,
uh,
they got these grapple saws that they call them now. That I'm not. Listen, it's a huge crane truck, knuckle boom crane. It's got a device that actually pinches the branches. It got an automatic chainsaw that comes down, cuts the branches. They pull it out of the tree.
really.
You go on YouTube after this and just
Oh yeah, I got to
do a
see
quick
that.
search on a grapple saw.
I got to
Check.
see that. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. We have some, some of these franchises that do like window washing and especially more commercial, like higher rise type stuff. And
yeah.
they've got drones now that they hook a hose to, and the drones go up and do the windows. It's pretty gnarly. But it's
Safe. It's safe.
yeah, it's safe. It's you don't have scaffolding and ladders and people,
You don't have
80, 90,
you don't have the
100 feet
people
off the
issue you
ground.
were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Josh, man, this was fun.
Yeah, it
We'll
was.
we'll do this again at some point. You guys are, um, really just getting started as far as growing the franchise goes. There's a hell of a foundation that you've built there over the last 20 years or so. So it's going to be excited to see where you take this thing, man. But appreciate you coming on the show and talking about it. For those listening, if any of this piques your interest, if you want to learn more, you can reach out to me. We'll figure out territory availability, qualifications, and all of that, and get you connected if you want to learn more about the franchise opportunity. And then if you want to preserve some of your trees, you can check them out online. Where should they go if they want to see if there's a Joshua Tree Services in their area?
JoshuaTreeExperts.com.
Love it. Love it. That'll be in the show notes. Cool if we put your LinkedIn in the show notes too, in case folks want to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Josh, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Joshua Tree Service. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.